Hello everyone, Phil here, and welcome to DSP versus the Internet, my weekly show where I react to all the clips that you, the members, have submitted over the course of the last week. This week looks like we're going to have some big variety. We have more horror-themed stuff for Halloween coming up. We've got game stuff, we've got documentaries, we've got comedy skits, we've got TikTok videos, even though I keep saying that they suck, but people keep submitting them. Anyway, we got a good variety. I'm excited for this week. I hope that you guys are too. And I want to jump right in. Now remember, how do you get your videos nominated for this show? Well, if you become a member today, you will have a chance to get your video watched. If you're an Ultra member, which is the highest tier of membership on the channel, you're guaranteed to have your clip watched. If you're a standard member, then your clips will get thrown into a randomized playlist. This week, over 50 clips were nominated. We're obviously not going to get through all of those. I'll try to get through as many as I can. Also, if you're a super member, you get to ask me a couple questions for a quick Q&A lightning round that we do around the 5th part of the show every week. So, if you like this content, please consider becoming a member. I usually don't make anything on these on-demand videos. They all get claimed on YouTube. So supporting the streams or becoming a member are great ways to support DSPReacts. All right, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Episode 35 for October 15, 2023 begins now. It looks like someone has something to say about the Destiny franchise. Let's see what they have to say. It's short. It's only 4 minutes. Here we go.
What the fuck happened? You were supposed to be the chosen one. You were supposed to be the game that we were all gonna play because we were gonna forget about all the other games because your game was so fucking amazing. And this is what we get. We get this and this and this. This video isn't coming from hate. This video is coming from disappointment. I was so fucking excited for Destiny.
Why? Honestly, why were you so excited for Destiny? Because I was someone who was a fan of the Halo franchise. In fact, I really loved Halo 3. And I really liked Halo Reach. I thought was quite good. I didn't like ODST. I thought ODST was definitely a shameless cash-in. But overall, I liked the Halo franchise, right? And then they said they were going to spin off and do their own thing. But every piece of information about it looked like Halo and Borderlands. Like, every piece of information made Destiny look exactly like Halo again, combined with Borderlands. So why were you so hyped? Why were you, like, I think what it is so many people bought into the hype machine, the marketing, the giant money that was put behind Destiny, that they committed to buying it and playing it. And to this day, there's people still playing this franchise. And if you ask them, what is it, honestly, that's original or great about this franchise that you love so much, they don't really have much to say. You know what they always cite is the fun cooperative experiences that they have in the game. That's fine. If it's the social aspect of the game that you enjoy, great. But you could do that in many other games too. I'm hard-pressed to find anything unique about Destiny or Destiny 2 that hasn't been done before, or at least in a different way in another game franchise, you know? So I kind of understand what he's saying, but I don't understand why people got so hyped for Destiny to begin with. That kind of makes me scratch my head. Okay.
I mean, you're trying to tell me the creators of my favorite game of all time was gonna be making a game like this? Sign me the fuck up, dude. And Bungie,
That's what I'm saying,
the
though.
guys to blame here, alright? There's someone else we gotta point our fingers to. I mean, I think when we all saw this, we knew it was a bad sign, but I still had high hopes, alright? I still believed in it. That was a bad idea. And now, if you're watching this video and you're getting pissed because, oh, you love Destiny, and that's
Here's
fine.
the thing, though, and I will say this. At first, and this is a 5-year-old video, at first, absolutely, everyone pointed the finger at Blizzard and said Activision Blizzard made them do all the bad decisions that makes that game not so good. But what happened? Bungie left Activision Blizzard. And what happened? The game still to this day is heavily criticized as not good. So what happened? If you're blaming it all on Activision Blizzard and they left Activision Blizzard, there was no more of that control. So who really was responsible ultimately for the bad decisions then? I mean, this video is 5 years outdated, so he wouldn't have known that at that point. I might want to turn off subtitles or make my React logo smaller. I don't think I turned on subtitles. I think these are on by default. Right? Hold on. Oh, why were the subtitles on? I have no clue. All right, I turned them off. I don't know why those were on. I must have done that by accident. Let's continue.
if you fucking love Destiny. You just have to admit, it's not the game that they said it was. Remember the 10-year promise? Remember the 10-year plan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Destiny fans don't want to bring that up. I was so excited. I was like, wow, they're promising 10 years of updates for this game, keep it fresh and exciting? That's fucking awesome. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, the 10-year plan is their agreement with Activision. They never meant the first game would be updated. Oh, shut the fuck up! Every single person that was excited for this game thought the exact same thing for the 10-year plan. And if it wasn't what we thought, Bungie should have stated it earlier that it wasn't that. Instead of being like, hey, look at this game with a huge story and all this stuff. Oh, by the way, there's a season pass that has the actual story, and the vanilla game doesn't got shit, boy. Now, Destiny 1 is old news. I'm talking old news right now. Everyone knows Destiny 1 didn't have the fucking story that they promised. Everything good was in paid DLC, and you had to pay so much more money to even get a decent experience.
Yep.
Everybody already fucking knows that. Let's talk about Destiny 2. Holy shit, there's actually a story in this one for like a minute. Oh, sweet, and another season pass with stuff they've already probably developed. Oh, wow, and microtransactions, too. Yes! And the shaders. Everyone liked those from Destiny 1, but they found a way to fucking ruin them. Now they're one-time use. So if you slap them on a piece of armor you like, then find a better piece of armor, looks like you're fucked, kiddo. But don't worry, you can buy more shaders with microtransactions. Oh, but aren't microtransactions just cosmetics? They're not. Some change the elemental power for a weapon, or even decrease the cooldown on some stuff. Oh my god, what did they do? What sucks the most about all this is I fucking love Bungie, and I love Halo. I have, honestly, an embarrassing amount of time on Halo 3, and when Halo Reach was announced, I was so excited with every update and every vid-doc that they posted about it, because it came with love and excitement and, like, true vision to their game. Destiny doesn't fucking have that. It's so clear that with Destiny, it's just...
Activision was granted a patent this month for a system it uses to convince people in multiplayer games to purchase items for a game through microtransactions. The system and method for driving microtransactions in multiplayer video games was filed in 2015, granted on October 17th.
It's about fucking money. And I know that's on Activision's side too, but like, there's a reason why when Destiny 1 was done, so many members of Bungie fucking left. They jumped ship because they were like, nah, I don't want to be a part of this. And I understand that they need to make money. It's a company, and they have employees that they need to pay. That's not up for debate here. The problem here is now Bungie and Activision realize that they can make the same fucking game again, unfinished, now with microtransactions, and people will still eat it up, and they will make so much fucking money. So why make a $60 game that has tons of content, no need for future DLC, no need for a season pass, have an amazing story when they don't even have to fucking try? They can...
And again, I guess now we can move on, because the thing is, the video is 5 years outdated. What we know happened was Bungie eventually got so much negative flack, they said they wanted to leave Activision. They did. They actually split from Activision. And now they've been updating Destiny 2 ever since, but let's be honest. Has Destiny 2 had an insane turnaround? Is it the insanely popular game? Is it so different? Most people are still highly critical of Destiny 2, saying it's still not a good game. It didn't live up to the promises. Yet, who's responsible? And by the way, Bungie went ahead and got acquired again. They went indie and split from Activision Blizzard just to then go get bought out a second time. If Activision was the problem, if not having creative control was the problem, why did you seek to get acquired again? So all it shows is that the entire thing was a scapegoat to begin with, and that, sadly, I hate to say it, the people at Bungie kind of lost their creative way. There's a documentary about the creation of Destiny, and it's fascinating because I listened to the audiobook of it, and literally, in interviews and things, the people higher-ups at Destiny realized they were making the same game. It was called Halo. They made it again. Destiny is Halo. They didn't have any real creative spark or vision. All they knew how to do was make Halo again. So they just made Halo, only this time with cooperative gameplay mechanics, so that it would become a looter shooter like Borderlands. All right, let's move on. I definitely agree with this sentiment. You know, Destiny, I feel, is one of the most overhyped franchises ever made. And to this day, doesn't live up to any of its hype. And that's why no one really even talks about it anymore. Let's be honest, right? You get the big expansion's coming out. And who cares besides just Destiny fans? Do you really think because it's a new expansion for Destiny 2, anyone new bought that? No one bought it. They just fucking, you know, only people who already play and invest in Destiny play those expansions. So, okay, let's move on.
I was scared of 10 My name is Percy Jackson.
Now wait a
I
minute.
had troubled.
Dude, I think they're on by default. I think YouTube is turning captions on by default. I'm not doing that. I think YouTube did some change this week. How much you want to bet this is a fuck up and they're gonna change it back next week? I guarantee you next week there won't be captions on everything. They're doing this they did it by accident. All right, let's continue.
Kid? Yeah, you could say that. Bad grades, bullies, all the normal stuff. And then there's some stuff that's maybe not so normal. There you are.
Like
You saw
creepy old
something.
women walking at you? Like whatever the fuck that
Something
was?
no one else could see.
The stories that I have told you about Greek gods and half.
Oh, no way!
They are
It has,
real.
that guy just passed away. I didn't know he was in this. Oh, man, that's sad. So was this maybe officially his final role? I forgot his name off the top of my head. He's an incredibly good actor and voice actor. And now and he's in this, but he passed away. That sucks. Because if he does a good job in this, Lance Riddick, thank you very much. Because if Lance Riddick did a great job in this show, now there's no way he can be in another season, right? That sucks.
Mrs. Jackson, things have changed. This is all developing a lot faster than we anticipated.
Rover, why is there half a goat in your pants?
So the important thing is not to panic.
Percy Jackson. We've been expecting you. The Master Bolt has been stolen.
So
That
they already did a movie about Percy Jackson. I never saw it. Now, this is a children's book series, correct? And it's supposed to be about that he's like, I guess, the descendant of a mythical god or something, and he doesn't know it. And there's this whole world of mythical god stuff that's hidden from the modern society, but it still exists behind the scenes. And then it's a coming-of-age story because he realizes he has to learn how to utilize his powers, and he becomes like a young hero or something like that. I never saw the movie. I heard the movie, like, I think it was, like, not bad, but I guess for whatever reason, they never make a sequel? So now I guess it's going to be a show on Disney Plus, which is interesting. It's probably a good teen show, right? But, like, it's a little weird that there's a movie, and what are they retconning the movie? Is that what it is? Like, they're acting like the movie didn't exist, and this is gonna be the new Percy Jackson thing, I guess? Again, I've never seen it, so I don't know.
is your quest.
It looks okay.
Remember what I taught you. You're gonna need to be brave now.
The Minotaur! Hit it with the Steely! Like I said, it seems okay.
Today's theme is
It doesn't seem amazing or anything. It seems okay, you know. For a teenager, you might really like that show, right? Okay. Now, so this clip apparently is a bunch of stories in one. I was asked, oh my god, there's fucking stuff. They keep putting the captions on this fucking thing. I'm not doing that. So, apparently I've been asked to watch this one video. Just one. Like, just the first story. I guess there's multiple stories in this video. But I've been asked to just watch the first story. And I've been told to fast forward to like 30 seconds. So let's see. Here it is. This is the one they want me to watch, whatever this story is. Entrance to Hell. All right. Let's listen to this spooky story.
In
You ready?
2010, an avid caver named Jeff decided to go to Madagascar to explore a natural cave shaft he had discovered years earlier. He arrived in country, he got a rental car, and he hired a guide to take him out to the area where he knew this cave was going to be. When he got out to that area, he used his notebook where he had taken notes the last time he was here, and he used that to find the opening to the cave. He paid the guide to stick around at the car while he went down and explored this cave. He assured him it was not going to be for a very long time. The shaft shaft was approximately 50 meters deep and 1 meter across, so it's pretty narrow. And the first 20 meters of the descent are on a bit of an angle, and then the final 30 meters are down at a straight vertical drop. At the bottom of this cave was this opening where you could actually stand up and walk around, but there were no other tunnels to explore at the bottom, so you would just go down, touch the bottom, and go back up. The visibility inside of the shaft was limited because all you had was the light that was coming in, and because of how narrow the opening was, Jeff's body would obscure a lot of the sunlight coming in. So once Jeff got a few meters down into the tunnel, he would rely on his headlamp. So Jeff enters the cave and he makes his way down to the 20-meter mark. So that's where the tunnel goes from being on an angle to being straight.
Straight
And
drop.
he's about to make that final descent down that final 30 meters when he notices something out of the corner of his eye. And he focuses his light on the side of the shaft and he sees thousands of black widow spiders trying to escape the light. They're scattering all over the walls. And he looks around him and he realizes from his position down on the vertical section of the shaft is covered in black widow spiders.
Oh my God.
As much as Jeff wanted to stop.
All right. So, I mean, seriously, that's it, because it's too dangerous. Black widows are incredibly venomous. If one of those things bites you, there's no way he's going to get to medical attention in time. He's going to die. So at that moment, you abort and you get out of there. There's nothing you can do, right? Okay. End of story. Next video, right? All right, let's see what really happens. Ready?
Right there and go right back up to the surface. He couldn't. In order to go back up this line that he was rappelling down on, he needed technical gear. And his technical gear was packed in his backpack, and it would just be totally unsafe trying to fish it out of his bag. And so he would have to descend the final 30 meters to the bottom, then take his pack off, get...
So he's a complete idiot. Already, if this is a true story, it's a terrible story. What if there was other stuff down there? What if there's deadly gas? And all of a sudden you can't breathe. Oh, you have to descend into the deadly gas before you can ascend again? Right? What are you, dumb? Like, doesn't even make sense at all. What a complete idiot. I mean, that's a moronic guy. So already, moron descends down shaft. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. All right, let's continue.
the gear out and go back up. So Jeff took a deep breath and he began his slow, awful descent into this cave filled with spiders. And periodically, as he would bump into the wall, he'd hear them scatter all over the walls, and then he saw them climbing on his sleeves, and he'd have to brush them off his sleeves. He saw them on the rope, he's trying to brush them off. He finally gets to the bottom, and he can hear the spiders on the wall just crawling all over the place. He takes his bag off, and it's covered in spiders. He opens it up, spiders crawl out of his bag. He carefully reaches in and pulls out his technical gear. He throws it up, and he begins making his way back up. And the whole time, he's just brushing spiders off of him. Once he gets to the surface, the first thing he does is he strips all of his clothing off to get all the spiders off of his clothing. He takes his bag, dumps it out, more spiders are in there. After he finally brushes all the spiders off, he redresses and gets in the car. And you can only imagine what the guide was thinking as he's watching this guy, this foreigner, taking his clothes off after being in this cave. But luckily, he doesn't get bit. He gets in the car with the guide, and they start heading back towards the city. As they're driving, he takes his notebook out, and he scratches off the title he had given this cave from the last time he was here, which was the Crooked Tube. He scratches that out, and on top of it, he writes, "The Entrance to Hell."
That's it. That was the story someone wanted me to watch. Okay. Do you guys want to listen to another one? I'll be honest, that wasn't very scary at all. Right? Like... that wasn't scary to me in any way, shape, or form. There's a bunch of fucking spiders, right? You want to do another one? One more? I don't know how long these are. Let's do one more, and if it's boring, forget this. Let's see what the next one is. That was short.
In 2006, a 14-year-old boy named Evan lived on a farm in North Carolina. This was not a typical farm with animals and crops. It was a pine tree harvestry. Pine needles are a big landscaping commodity, and Evan and his family made their living baling pine straw every year. As such, their main living house on the farm was situated right in the middle of 550 acres of perfectly lined up pine trees. They did not have any neighbors nearby, and there was only one road that led into the property, which from the main house, they could look out and basically see through the rows of trees all the way to the beginning of this road, which meant any visitors were really easy to spot. The main
So you want to talk about like a pure isolated thing away from like civilized life. This sounds like a pure nature thing, right? Living out there in a pine tree farm and being able to go out and walk through, smell the pine and harvest the pine. What a unique way to have a business and live. pretty so well removed from anything of city life.
House was built on a very slight hill, which meant one side of the house was effectively built on stilts to compensate for the angle.
That's really
and
dumb.
On that side of the house, on the first floor, was the living room. So anyone who was in the living room looking out the window...
Like they totally couldn't find a safe place to put the house not on stilts, right? I don't know why humans do silly things, but let's continue.
They'd basically need to look at a downward angle to see the ground. It would actually seem like you were on the second floor, but really you're on the first floor. The window in the living room was very unique. It stretched almost the entire length of the room, so almost 50 feet across. And at night, you could see animals darting between the different trees because you could see down the road.
That's awesome.
And so that was pretty creepy. And then just the fact that this...
Why is that creepy? That's cool. You have basically you have a whole nature walk view, like you're living in a place where you can see nature in its natural state and observe it without any risk and without any danger to the nature. Why would that be creepy? That's awesome. That was really creepy.
Window is so big, if you're in the living room at night, you just felt really exposed. So between the creepy animals running around and the level of exposure and vulnerability, people basically avoided the living room anytime they were in the house at night.
What?
That winter, Evan's cousin came...
You're in the woods. No one else is there. It's just you and nature. Why are you afraid of the living room? What is this story? Because those deer, let me tell you, those deer with their fucking binoculars are looking in at you, peeking in, and they're judging you. Let me tell you something. What the hell is this story?
Stay with him on his farm, and because the main house did not have any extra bedrooms, Evan and his cousin would have to sleep in the living room. There were 2 couches inside of the living room, one that was right underneath the 50-foot long window, and then another which was on the other side of the room against a wall that did not have a window. And so Evan would be sleeping on the couch right under the window, and his cousin would be sleeping on the other couch. The first night Evan's cousin was there, they put this big sheet up over the window, but it only blocked like 75% of the window. The 2 flanks of the window were still exposed, but where the couches were lined up, they were kind of blocked by this sheet, so it gave them a little bit of privacy. After goofing around for a while, the boys finally fell asleep around midnight.
Doing what?
And then they woke up a couple hours later because they heard Evan's dogs barking way off in the pine trees. Now, Evan was used to his dogs running around the property and barking at other smaller animals.
And Spirit Crumpler just did an emote of a deer and a telescope, and he says, "I'm watching you." All the deer come out at night. Let's watch those annoying humans. Let's get out here. Let's see what they're up to in their living room.
So just them barking was not necessarily a red flag, but the barking persisted to the point where Evan's cousin got up off the couch, moved across the room to the opening of the window that was not covered by the sheet at the foot of where Evan was sleeping. Now Evan was still laying on the couch. He was not going to get up and look out the window, so he's looking down at his cousin, kind of looking at his face to get some sort of a read on what he's seeing. And he notices his cousin has this really perplexed look on his face, like he's squinting his eyes and trying to make sense of what he's looking at. And so Evan looks at him and says, "Hey, what's going on? What do you see?" And his cousin's like, "I don't know if my mind's playing tricks on me or not, but I'm pretty sure I see people out there." At this, Evan jumps off the couch and runs over and butts up right next to his cousin so he can look out the window too. And he's scanning out amongst the rows of trees because there's just a mile of pine trees. And the first thing he notices is the moon is very bright that night. So there's good illumination, and there was a light snow covering on the ground, which really added to the illumination. He's looking out maybe
Well, now you'd definitely be able to tell if there are really people out there because there'd be footsteps, right? If there's no footsteps, it means the people are not there and you're just imagining shit. So there you go.
meters when he sees someone's leg extend from behind one of the pine trees as if they're stepping into the space between a pine tree column. And he's staring at it and he can't believe he's even seeing anyone walking around this area because he didn't see anybody come in on the road and they have no neighbors. And so he's looking and then a body follows the leg. A person walks from one row to the next. This tall, dark figure just walks.
It's the pine people, obviously. They live in the trees. They only come out at night.
Evan just grabs his cousin and he's like, "Did you just see that?" And his cousin's like, "Yeah, I saw that." And so they continue to look in the direction of where this person crossed the path. And after a couple of minutes, they see another leg now emerging, going the other way, back towards where that first person
some
had come
asshole.
from. So the leg kind of extends into this gap, and then this tall figure walks across into the next row, except now, instead of going just directly across, it looks like they're moving at an angle closer to the main house proper. The boys look at each other and they don't know what to do, so they just keep looking out the window in stunned silence. And as they're looking, they see this person emerge again, except now they're not 100 meters away, they're like 20 meters away. They don't know how they were able to move that quickly without being seen. And this time when the leg comes out from behind the pine tree,
The teleporter.
instead of walking across the gap, it stops right in the middle, and it turns and looks directly at the boys in the window, and then begins running toward them. The boys practically fall over, trying to get away from the window. Evan's yelling for his father upstairs, and the boys instinctively just start running around the house, locking every door, shutting every window, and as they're going from door to door, the anxiety is growing and growing because they think, if I don't get there fast enough, this person who was running towards the property is going to come barging through that door. And
All right, this story's better than the last one for sure. It's still ridiculous. I mean, there's so many questions. You live in the woods. Why do you not have weapons? Why do you not have any way to defend yourself nearby? Like, who cares if someone's running at your house? If I got a gun sitting next to me, I don't care. Let him come in. Let's see what happens. Let's see, big boy. Come in my house. And, see how long you stay in here when I have a gun pointed right at your head. When the moment you walk in. Why were they only then running to panic and lock all the doors? You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, it's a story that it's scary because once again, people have no preparation for anything and act like idiots. I'm going down a shaft. I have no idea what's down there. Let me make sure there's no way I could climb back up till I reach the bottom, no matter what I run into, right? I live out in the woods isolated from any kind of help. Let me make sure that I have no way to defend myself and I have all my doors unlocked at all times, right? Sounds very smart, correct? All right, let's see what else is going.
so at every door, their anxiety is through the roof, but they manage to shut everything. Everything is locked right as Evan's father comes charging down the stairs. He's got his gun in hand, and he's like, what's going on? And they say, there's someone out in our property. Their dad charges out the front door. The front door is not on the same wall as the living room. It's on the side of the house. So once he goes outside, he's going to need to turn to the right to look out in the direction they were describing. He bombs outside, he stays on the porch, and he starts yelling at whoever's out there that if you come over here, I'm going to shoot you, get the F away from here. And then there's silence. And the boys are waiting, they're looking around, they're checking the window. They don't see anything. The dad comes back inside, he shut and locks the door, and he tells Evan, keep an eye out. If you see him again, you let me know. Evan would reflect on this experience later on and say, you know, we really should have called 911 at that point, but as a kid, I just understood that that's the way my family did business. We kind of took care of ourselves. And so even though there is a threat of some stranger who's running at our property, we were not going to call the cops. And so his dad effectively was telling him to be a lookout. And so Evan and his cousin, they go back into the living room and they kind of go up to the window. They're a little bit apprehensive.
The story continues. This is a longer one. Hopefully there's a good ending. Oh, let's keep going. I at least want to hear the ending now.
They're looking out, and after 5-10 minutes of looking out the window and not seeing anything, they're thinking to themselves, you know, Evan's dad's a pretty intimidating guy, and he was just out there screaming and yelling with a gun, threatening to shoot them, so they probably got the message, and they're probably gone. And so the boys got back into their couches, and it took them a while, but they did ultimately fall asleep. The next morning when the boys got up, the first thing they wanted to do was go out there and see if they could find footprints from this person to kind of confirm it really was a person. Because part of them thought, you know, maybe we didn't see that. Maybe that was our imaginations. They don't know. And so they start by going out the front door, so not on the same wall as the living room. They go out the front door, they turn, and they walk down into the trees. And they're looking around, and they find some footprints. So they're confirming to themselves, okay, there was someone out here. It wasn't us. This is not our footprints. We found them. So they start following the footprints back towards the property. And they realize at some point there are two distinct sets of footprints. There were two people out here. And even worse is they follow them all the way up to the house. And there were two different circles of footprints that stopped right underneath the living room window along the two flanks of the window where the sheet was not covering. Which means over the course of the night, when Evan and his cousin were up at that window looking out, there's a good chance that one or two strangers were tucked up against the side of the house. And they would not have seen them because of the angle out of the living room window. It was steep because of the stilts it was on. And so anybody that was tucked up along the side, they'd be in a blind spot. And then for sure, after Evan and his cousin got back into bed and were sleeping, there were two strangers who were right up against those windows, probably pulling themselves up to look inside. When Evan's father found these footprints, he immediately grabbed his gun and tried to follow them back into the woods to see where they came from, but unfortunately the snow cover wasn't complete, and at some point they lost the tracks and they never figured out who those two people were. Evan would say, following this event, his cousin refused to ever come back over his house for a sleepover.
Alright. I would say that one was creepier, but that's a more realistic story. There's nothing supernatural about that story at all. You know? Maybe people are casing a house. Maybe they knew that there's people out here living there, and they felt that they could take advantage of them and surprise them and rob the house or something at night. And then they chose not to because they knew that the father had a gun, and they looked inside. They said, okay, well, maybe too risky, right? So it wasn't necessarily scary. It's a more realistic story. All right, well, that was part 1. DSP versus the internet for this week. I hope that you enjoyed that spooky story. We'll be back with more shortly, more Ultra member submissions. We'll see what people have to have us lined up to watch. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next part. Peace out. See you then.